baselines. Route 2. So let's break this down. The PG method is, if you guys saw when I first presented this, I believe I presented the same slide when I first spoke to you guys. The requirements would have been 650, right? I've since moved that up, 675. But remember what I said earlier, 700 for the personal credit score. If we are going to be personally guaranteeing for a nice, juicy round of funding, where, again, you guys can get access to this if you are a brand new startup, you just open up your LLC, but your credit has just sitting heavenly, 675 baseline, 700 plus. I don't want anyone in here to think average, right? 675 is going to get you an average result, most likely going to get you denied. If you see anyone out there posting 650, 650 is going to be really rough. The only way you can kind of get away with it being 650 is if you let some cash do the talking for you, meaning you already have a relationship set up with that bank and you're coming in with 10, 15K, setting up your bank rating right, which I think it's coming up in the next slide here. So 675 is going to be baseline for the FICO 8 score, which is what banks are going to look at right now, this time. Not FICO 9, not FICO 10, not FICO 10T, at least not yet. They are still taking a look at your FICO 8 score. You want at least $2,000 in credit limits. You want 3 or more cards with banks, revolving cards. So I'm not including, for the $2,000 credit limits, I'm not including, you know, what would we be looking at? Not auto loans. I'm not including store cards. I'm talking about actual bank cards of at least $2,000. History, at least 3 years old. Utilization under 25%, especially now in this climate, under 10%. If you guys can get it as close as you can to 0, I would get it under 0, or I would get it to 0, not under 0. I would get it to 0. Under 10% is ideal and most optimal. No charge-offs, no collections, less than 4 inquiries in the last 6 months, or the inquiries are at least older than 6 months. You can also take a deep dive into that. And then no late pays in the last 24 months. For the most part, everything stayed the same. And I know I don't need to beat like this dead horse. I know that you guys, especially in this community, this was any other community, I would stay here a little bit longer, but I know for a fact you guys have probably already seen the sequencing a ton of times. The only thing that really changes is that baseline of 675. Now, this is what goes into your credit score. Again, we won't stay here too long. Payment history, 35%, 30% on the amount owed, 10% on credit mix, 15% on length of credit history, and 10% on the new credit. Now, a lot of us see it like this. I like to teach it like this, which is point system, right?
That's good.
So
I like this.
This is going to make up a total of 850 on the score, right? So 300 to 850. If we're looking at from a point system, again, percentages, right? I don't know about you guys. I'm not the biggest percentage guy, especially growing up, but I do well with points. 85 points if we're the max, 85 points if it's a new credit, meaning I just opened up a new credit yesterday, right? That's the weight of it, of the total, 850. 85 of mix, meaning I have a credit card, I have some student loans that are reporting positive, I have a mortgage on there. 127.5 points for my credit history, meaning how old is my credit? Let's say I have 5 credit cards that are 5 years old. That profile is 5 years old. Amounts owed, which is credit utilization, and payment history, which again, remember, make up 65%. When you add those two totals up, make up 65%. 255 max points for amounts owed, 297.5 for payment history. That's why when I'm first looking at somebody's credit profile, I'm taking a look at how much do you owe before you even think about going into a round of funding, and what's your payment history like. If I see that amounts owed is 80% and you have like 2 recent late pays, you shouldn't even be thinking about taking the PG route. You should be focusing on getting this credit clean first, and then at that point, potentially looking at building out your profile, your business credit profile over on the EIN only side, since it's not going to be as demanding for you because it's not going to be checking your personal credit. Now, there's 3 main funding options. You have full doc loans, which again, stated income, fully stated income. If I wanted to get technical with the term, but full doc loans / lines of credit, typically they're going to ask for at least 2 years of tax returns. Some banks like City National Bank, which is more of like a low key bank, they'll ask for 3, right? They may not fully need it, but sometimes they'll ask for 3 just to make sure that underwriting is tight, especially right now. But typically they're going to ask for 2 years of tax returns, bank statements, W-2s if you still have a job that you want to report some of that income in with your application, pay stubs, profit and loss statements, and then of course your paperwork, right? So your EIN, your LLC, your articles of organization, articles of incorporation, business licenses, what have you. Low doc loans, which again, this is more of partial stated income, that's going to be 1 year tax returns. Everything else virtually stays the same. No doc loans, or technical term, stated income, right? Or just regular stated income of, hey, I'm telling you that my business makes up to $450. I'm telling you that I make $125,000 on my personal side. Stated income or projected revenue is essentially what they're going to base your application off of. And then you're obviously going to have to personally guarantee. Since at that point, you don't have, so here's a trade-off. When you have full doc loans, even though you still need some strong credit above that 700, you have a little bit more leeway because again, you're letting the cash do the talking. Remember, in the funding world, you have cash flow, you have credit, and you have collateral. Those are the three pieces that banks typically look at, the three legs: cash flow, credit, or collateral. So when you are a startup, you can't really mess around with collateral because you don't own anything, or your business doesn't own anything. And then you can't really back it up with, well, I have $85,000 in worth of bank statements that we're pumping in cash flow every single month. And we also reported $250,000 in, let's say, net revenue for our business. So since you can't do that, they're going to go heavily off of your personal credit. And that's why this is important, because they'll be able to see, okay, if this business owner is brand spanking new, we'll be able to tell how well they're going to be able to manage their business. Meaning if they were good with the personal finances, that tends to creep into the business world, which is why how we do anything is how we do everything, right? Mm-hmm. And so with that said, is they're not going to require statements, W-2s, or tax docs. Just know that when you're walking in there, you may leave some money on the table. So one of the things that I'm usually telling my clients is, hey, Irv, I'm in between, a no doc loan for $45,000 or $125K, but they want to see tax returns. My first question is, do you have the tax returns? Yeah. So why aren't you showing it? Like, dude, just show it. Like, there's nothing wrong with it. You're not going to go to jail for showing your tax returns. Worst case scenario, they say, hey, based on your tax returns, you don't qualify for the 125, but we could get you up to the 80. I was talking to my rep over at City National Bank, and notice that I'm giving you actual bank names. I'm not saying my lender. I'm not saying a bank. I'm giving you actual bank names. I was talking to my rep over at City National Bank. I asked him, hey, quick question, Ralph. If somebody comes in and they don't have, let's say, the financials aren't as strong as needed, like at that point, what happens? He goes, well, the personal credit takes over. And so at that point, we give them a counter offer on what they're asking for. Okay, cool. So that you guys know, City National Bank does no UCC filing loans and lines of credit. No doc. Something to consider. Now, is it going to help your case if you come in with at least 2 years of tax returns? 100%. But again, they're no doc if you have excellent credit above a 750. And as long as you're prepared to go up no more than $100,000 on that business on a credit, which, I mean, let me know in the chats if you guys can get a $100,000 business on a credit or up to $100,000 business on a credit, no UCC filing, like, would that help you out? Just, Rad, do you think that'll help some people out?
Yeah, somebody said, hell yeah, there we go.
Like, and that's City National Bank. None of this, hey, I have lenders, there's banks. No, we're gonna start dropping banks throughout these trainings coming up, because we want you guys to win. Like, it's all gonna be about you obviously doing your homework and putting this stuff to play. But we want you guys to win so that you guys can get the most out of this.